Linda, can I interrupt just 1 second? Yesterday morning, I was checking social media, and there was a Facebook post at 7:37 in the morning. It was from a baby-faced Captain America complaining that he wanted to launch an investigation because he felt Butterfingers in Olean. So I did go to Walmart last night, and they do have plenty of Butterfingers, but they don't have any toilet paper. So I'd just like to present Alderman Crawford with a bag of Butterfingers.
No, it's Captain America.
Wow. Some Butterfingers, finally. I was really quite concerned about that. Thank you for bringing that up, Alderman Anastasia. You know, I was going to put the mayor on the spot and ask for maybe some collaboration between him and the police chief. My kids came home the other night from trick-or-treating, and there was not one Butterfinger to be had between the two of them. And then when I put it on social media, I saw this as a reoccurring trend across Olean. Numerous households, fathers were just belligerent and upset that there were no Butterfingers to be had. And, you know, I was thinking maybe we should call this either Fingergate or Buttergate, and really do an investigation, because it sounds like if it's COVID related or if it's a conspiracy, if they're stuck on ships. But apparently Alderman Anastasia, although I do know his roots go deep, and he knows lots of people in high places, so I'm assuming he made some calls to get these. So thank you very much, Alderman Anastasia, I appreciate that. But we really do need Mayor to work on making sure that we get some Butterfingers out there to the constituents, so thank you for that.
Sorry to interrupt that Board of Finance meeting.
That's okay, it's a great way to kick it off. Okay, let the record show that all aldermen on finance are present. Approval of the minutes of the previous committee from Tuesday, June 15th. Okay, I'll make a motion. Someone want a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, monthly bill, or finance and bills. This is on just because it's finance. We won't receive those to the third week, so we'll pass on that. Unfinished business. We have none. New referrals for consideration. A couple of the things that I put on 2 weeks ago, we talked about, so there's just a few other things that I wanted to see if we can get an update on. One of them is airport funding and projects up to date. I see Bob's here, if he could just, I know we did touch it on last week, but if you just want to give us any more updates on the airport.
Yeah, a few things related to the airport. We did talk about it briefly last week. I don't have a ton more without preparing something for you all, which I can do. I guess I would ask that maybe in a month or so I could give a full capital project update. We're still picking up the pieces, for lack of a better word, on a very busy construction season, so we have some budgeting work to do. We still have a couple projects in construction, and you know, we can fit the airport projects in there, including budgets and where they're at and where the construction schedules are at. But there is good news at the airport. We have essentially balanced the budget partly through the help of stimulus funds, CARES Act revenue that was unexpected, that it's not going to be a recurring cost, but will help us out at least for this year. The FAA, well, the federal government, through the FAA, funded 100% of our capital projects. So we had the biggest capital project that we've had, I think, ever up there, $2.5 million one-way replacement project, and the match would have been $125,000. The FAA covered it 100%, so that was really great timing, at least helpful with our struggles through the pandemic. Long term at the airport, looking ahead, now that, you know, after you all had expressed concerns on the, you know, finances at the airport and the progress that we've made, the support from the county now being, from at least seemingly $85,000 recurring budget item, up from $17,000. I'd like to have a meaningful discussion around budget time about perhaps adding a full-time staff there, continue kind of the good work that we've done so far to manage FAA projects, and maybe even increase interest up there. The T hangars, the old T hangars that we call them, there's new T hangars that were built maybe roughly 10 years ago. Need some work, they need a painting project, they need some paving work done around them, some door work. There's a lot of gaps and there's birds in there. Other issues, paint that falls on airplanes. So that's a project that I'd like to tackle if we do have additional revenue up there. So that's kind of where we're at, I guess, with FAA projects. Again, I can give you a more formal update when I'm able to catch up. You guys have any questions?
I guess I'll bounce off of, I think Alderman Witt's got a great point here, a great idea. And we did this 6 months ago. When was the last time we did a full capital project report out? Maybe the mayor and Bob, maybe could you guys give us some dates in December where you, kind of the construction season's winds down, and then you give us one of those full-blown report outs on all the capital projects, those that have closed out, the ongoing ones, and the upcoming ones. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, then this leads right into the next question. The next item would be the filtration plant law. I see Brad's here. If you could give us an update on that application.
Yeah, so tonight, we're seeking a board resolution so we can apply for the WIA grant for the filter plant wall. I'm sure everybody is aware that, the deterioration of the wall. We need to get a sedimentation basin down so we can get in that and look at the back wall that has separated about 10 inches from the walkway up there. So if we do one wall, we want to do them both, make sure that it's done properly. Total project cost, we're looking really somewhere in the 1.2 million. The WIA grant is 60-40%, so the grant's 60% up to 3 million. So I guess tonight we're seeking the board resolution. Potentially we may need the bond resolution if we're going to borrow money to pay for the project down the road.
Okay. Mr. Kemp, the last time I was over there, the one tank where the wall has a crack in it, we haven't had water in that for a while. Is that still true? You know how we have the two big, well, they'd be holding tanks. We emptied the one out and we just have the one that's filled. It's been a long time since I was over there. Has that changed?
I believe that we have water in all of them. I don't believe we have any of them down.
So the one where the crack is, that has water in it?
I believe so.
Okay. I was just curious because I haven't been over there for a while.
Sure. I'll double check on it tomorrow and I'll send you an email first thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Go ahead.
okay. Hey, Brad, can you give me a timeline on the WIA grant application, when it's due, and then when we should know one way or the other, some results?
It is due 5 p.m. November 22nd, Monday, November 22nd. As far as the timeline on application results, I don't have that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, is that something we typically know within a year, within 6
Yeah.
months?
Yeah, it'll be,
Okay.
probably several months after the application deadline.
All right, so at that point, if we were to receive it, then we would be discussing a possible resolution on funding our portion of that, is that correct?
I believe that is correct, yep.
Okay.
With, assuming we're successful tonight with the board resolution, we're gonna check with ESC, either tomorrow or Thursday, to make sure that we're good to submit that with the application and out of a bond resolution. So I'm assuming that we're okay with that. Right now, we've done the seeker, that was done in April of 20. SHPO is done. We have everything. You allocated funds for the engineering report, that is done, or very near done. So we should be ready to submit on the 22nd.
What is the ultimately, what is the cause? What's the root cause of the walls? Was it just shoddy craftsmanship? Was it the environment over there?
No, I think we were in a rush to put the plant online, from what I understand, when it was initially built. So concrete curing time is partially due to that. I believe the rebar wasn't coated like it should have been, during the initial construction.
I thought the concrete sat in the tumbler too long. Yeah. Wasn't there something?
That could be too.
Yeah, concrete's like super finicky, right? If you don't pour it, just right timing or whatever, it can.
And some of it was
Never.
constructed in the winter time, so when you have multiple seasons, you have different batches with concrete. There's a number of things that can go wrong. From what I understand, its initial cure time, I don't believe was met satisfactorily.
Didn't the company that did the concrete, didn't they have to pay us or their insurance had to reimburse us or something? That would have been several years ago.
So the plant now is about 21 years old.
Mhm.
So if there was any claim against that, that would have been, I don't know, so 18 years ago or more.
Yeah, I think it was about, those been here 8,
Linda,
about 12 years ago.
to my recollection, we did get some money. It wasn't a great deal of money. I can check that. I think it was maybe like $25,000, nothing near
What we need.
what we recognized in damage.
Yeah, I remember we put in for it, and they gave us a certain amount. I couldn't remember how much that was.
Yeah, it wasn't a great deal of money.
So, I'm sorry, Fred, I didn't hear all of that. So you said that we did, years ago, put in for the contractor or their insurance, we filed something and we received about 25,000 there around.
It's my recollection that the contractor was long gone, and
Yeah.
we did what we could.
Okay.
Thank you. Brad, while you're here, this would have been on the agenda 2 weeks ago. Do you know when they'll be finishing the Stardust where they dug up the old pump station?
Yeah, so, that will be done the 15th and 16th of this month.
Okay.
And if there's any residual work to finish that up, it will be done on the 18th. So it'll be Monday, Tuesday, that road will be shut down. Water service won't be interrupted, but they won't be able to drive through there. Because we have to dig all the way across the road and tie into the water main on the other side.
Okay.
So that'll be done those 2 days. And then if by chance something pops up, we gotta finish up, it'll be done Thursday.
Okay, when they had the road closed just a few weeks ago, some of the neighbors called me because the sign that said it was closed was down by satellites, or no, Skyview. And the people from above Satellite Circle, they all started down, they all had to turn around. So if they could put the sign up further, that they'd appreciate it.
Put it up by Gemini and Satellite?
Yeah,
Okay.
because then they realized they have to go down Gemini, not turn around.
Absolutely.
They were a little upset about that.
Yeah.
I think we can send out a notice to all the
Yeah,
residents up there too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They'd appreciate
We'll
it.
send out a notice.
And I do believe it's this month in November, they're gonna put some more trees up on the Arlen area.
Yep, that was today, yesterday and today.
So are the trees all up or they're
Yes.
just starting?
Yep.
Okay.
We planted 5 trees, well, we started yesterday, got them all in and finished it up today. So we got 5 trees planted.
Great. And I have to tell you, it looks so, when I drive by, it looks so nice up through there, the bushes and the way that we turned the building up really looks nice.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, so going forward.
Linda, I have a question.
Sure.
This is to the previous, to the filtration, you bounced on. I was curious whether or not the COVID money, the stimulus money, or the CARES money, would that qualify towards that filtration plant wall? Instead of us doing the bonding, or is there, I can't remember how much we were awarded.
I'm sure, yeah, it's infrastructure.
Yes.
So I think it'd be I think it would be, yeah.
Instead of doing the bonding. If we're gonna get back, if we're looking at, November 22nd, then we're looking at least 2 months to get word back, potentially longer, we'll be into the budget time frame. So I don't know if we do discuss bonding every year. So if that's the case, then we'll probably pass that deadline, and then we'll be looking for that money. So that's why I was wondering if that money would qualify under that.
From everything, what I will say, Vernon, is from everything I've read, yes.
Okay.
Vern, I think it's 700,000 this year and 700,000 next year.
Okay.
We've spent 90,000 so far in the first.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
And we could use that, obviously, for the match portion too, right? So it would be a full coverage. So that might make a good use of that money.
Right.
This has been something, as long as I've been on the council, I think, probably as long as Paul's been on the council, been hearing about the wall, the filtration plant, so.
The engineering report is saying that these restorations could basically make it useful through 50 plus years.
15 or 50?
50.
50, I like that.
That's good.
Sorry, Linda. So do you need just, do you need verbal authorization to apply for this grant? What do you guys need from us? Was this just a discussion item? Are you looking for a verbal? Is this going to be on next
Next week should have,
resolution next Tuesday?
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
possibly two. There could be a funding resolution. I don't think the resolution is a formal bond resolution as it's prepared, but it would say the amount of what, you almost have to commit to
Right.
matching funds.
Right.
I think that would strengthen our application, so we'll have to ask the mayor to sign the grant application as one resolution. The second resolution may be the council's willing to fund up to X amount.
Is this the same agency that we went through for Washington Street?
Yes,
Yeah.
Washington Street and Stardust were both funded by WEA, so we think this is a really strong application. I hope we get it because we have been talking about this project for years. We've funded the design of it. We've been working on it really hard. We gotta consider funding it if we don't get a grant application just because of the impact.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So don't sit down, Bob. It's not on tonight's agenda, but Bob wanted Director Ring wanted to put this on. It's the water line under the East State Bridge, if you want to give us an update on that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's Brad.
Oh, that's Brad.
Okay, Brad.
So yeah, what we're looking at doing there, I think the best way to go about it is to do cured in place pipe. Basically, it's a epoxy resin infused felt sock that gets pulled through the line. It's then pressurized with steam and cured. And they can be in and out in a day, and we can have it back up and running the next day or shortly thereafter as soon as we get the taps put back on. So we have one quote for that work from the company that is doing our sewer lining, similar process to our sewer lining, to help with the I&I issues in the city. Their quote was $62,250.
Brett, did they give us any kind of timeframe, warranty, guarantee on that line?
I am not sure on that.
I would try and secure that in whatever fashion we can.
Sure, yep.
And this would be something that could possibly be funded through that stimulus money?
Yes.
Okay.
So did you say $62,000?
Yes.
Well, that's great. Compared to the, kind of the initial discussions we were having as far as options for that water line. You know, we were talking about possibly having to go drudge under the river, and I saw huge dollar signs. So this is just, I mean, obviously this is because I am an amateur, I have no idea about this stuff, but something like that isn't just a Band-Aid fix, that is something that can be long-standing for years to come.
Yeah, that line will be good for a number of years, if I had to take a professional guess, I would say 20 years.
I like that. All right.
Good. Now, is this going to be in a resolution for next week for us to take that money from the stimulus account?
If that's where the council would like to see the funding come from, yes.
I'm just thinking it's,
Could come from there, it could also come from contingency, we do set aside the contingency, and I don't believe we've tapped into, Fred, have we tapped into the water line contingency?
Not yet.
You know, and maybe keep the larger pot of money for some of that larger projects we've got, just food for thought. What do we have usually, 75,000? So that will be able to cover possibly this repair.
Now, I've noticed that, you know, through town, we've had water main breaks. Has that money been coming out of the budget, or has that revenue, the money to replace those water lines?
Yeah, it's been coming out of the budget.
Okay, so we've covered that with the budget so far?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Unfortunately, we had a record-breaking year as far as water being rated.
Yeah, I've noticed, it's like,
Yeah.
We still have the siphon to deal with, right, Bob? We
The
made any progress on that? Yeah, it crosses the river. When John mentioned Foreman.
Yeah, that'll be another grant application. I haven't talked to that firm in the last 6 weeks or so, so I have to get back to them to see where we're at and as far as the efforts for that.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember. We discussed it a couple months ago, I think, but.
We applied as part of the consolidated funding application, water quality improvement plan, WQIP program, so we're just waiting to hear if they fund it. I think that was the third time we tried to apply for funding for the Siphon project. We have not a consent order, but a master plan that the DEC kind of expects us to follow, so again, we're falling a little behind as far as, you know, that master plan, except, you know, COVID threw a lot of things off, project-wise, funding-wise, from the state. So WIA usually comes out earlier. Washington Street, our answer was in December, so we may not hear until February, but everything was delayed. But yeah, it's something we gotta kind of get back on track with water, sewer, infrastructure projects.
When that's been denied before, Bob, is there any particular reason, or just we run out of funding by the time they get to us? Is there, what are our chances any better this time?
It's a good question. I think you can request a call with the funding agency afterwards, and the one time that we sat down, we were very close in the scoring process. You know, they give you scoring based on, you know, how they thought your project weighted against others. It's just tough because WQIP goes mostly to water projects, I think. They're being prioritized over sewer projects. So we're trying to sell it as a preservation to the Allegheny River, you know, and it's because of potential pollution from the sewage, and it's a tough sell. So the right funding source isn't really coming along, I think, for the Siphon project.
good question. Anybody have any other questions for?
I was just curious if we figured out what caused it. I know there's a lot of rumor that it may be high pressure, or maybe it was just old age.
That caused what?
The pipe, the pipe burst on the bridge. I'm sorry.
So what caused the bursting of that line is, it's an old steel line. I believe it was installed in early 50s.
So it's just old age.
Yeah, it got pitted. There's areas that are just real thin. So the first time we were successful at patching the first leak, and before we could pick everything up and get out of there, another one broke under the pressure. So that's when we decided, well, we need to replace the line.
Okay, any other questions? Fred?
Linda, we talked a couple of weeks ago, you wanted, you were hoping that I could prepare some reports for you, and I said, why don't we do it till the sales tax coming this month, which would be around 12th, we should have most of it. So, I would like you to think about having me set aside 10 minutes at the next work session, just to give you an overview of what's happened so far this year. I can tell you there's 3 or 4 nice things that have happened, and looking forward to sharing it with you.
I think it was in the paper tonight where Western New York, they said that our sales tax was down 2.1 or 2.3%, and that's not true at all for us.
No, it's
So
not.
that's a good thing,
That's part of the good news.
right?
I just wanted to wish Vern, Jason, and Bill good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Hope you win.
Don't forget Dave,
Dave?
he's gonna take your Butterfingers.
It's a competition.
You're running out of post, right? Well, my money's on you, Dave.
Okay, guys, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on.
Call order Public Safety Committee, Tuesday, November 2nd. Let the record show all aldermen are present, with the exception of Alderman Barnard. Approval of the minutes, the previous meeting, Tuesday, October 5th. I'd like to make a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Anastasia, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Opposed? Ayes have it. Unfinished business, we have none. New referrals for consideration, we have 4. The first one would be no parking West Green Street on one side.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Robinson. So, actually, A and B kind of go together. And when I told Tiffany, I misspoke. So it's actually supposed to be South 7th Street. So it's actually right around that same vicinity. So if you know, at the end of South 7th, it hangs a left and goes down West Green Street. So this is the area that we're talking about, not South 4th Street. The residents around there, in some ways got spoiled, I think, recently. There have been no parking along that end of West Green Street, and maybe Bob can confirm whereabouts, due to the work that was being done on the dikes. So at the end of West Green Street, there was a lot of construction taking place this past summer. They had large construction vehicles in and out of there along the dikes, and they were cleaning out the riverbed, I believe. And they had no parking signs, and residents called me and said that that really helped to, people tend to park right up against the intersection there. It's a funky intersection, it's a 90-degree intersection, so there is no stop sign. There is an arrow that indicates, hey, you gotta turn. And then the other residents are very vocal and concerned that people like to whip around that corner and around that curve. It is a very sharp curve, and personally, I've seen cars cross over the line as you kind of hug a corner, and DPW a couple years ago asked them to put down some actual striping lines, which helped, I think, a bit. The neighbors, the residents said, just to indicate, hey, stay in your lane when turning this corner. So part B is, the residents there are requesting a stop sign. So that would be a stop sign at the end of West Green Street and a stop sign then at the end of South 7th Street, coming to a complete stop before proceeding with the one direction turn. So I wanted to bring this up as my residents asked me to, and I wanted to get Bob's opinion. Additionally, I will reach out to the police chief on this. I'd given Bob a heads up maybe a week or two ago on this, and wondered if he had any thoughts. So, Director Ring, any thoughts on this proposal?
Yeah, thanks, John. So during the project with DEC along the south side of Green Street, we posted no parking from 13th Street to 7th Street to allow larger trucks to be able to drive down through that area and then up to, was it 7th or, I think it was 4th Street, and then they got out to state routes through 4th Street. I guess I want to start off by saying we get requests like this, we get a number of requests, right? For like a stop sign to slow people down, or to remove parking, or, you know, a children at play sign, or a crosswalk and things like that. And I think what's most important is that when people are driving through residential neighborhoods, their expectation should be to drive slow. And we do that through like proper street design. Stop sign, federal law says that you cannot use it as speed enforcement or a reason for people to slow down, because most studies show that people will roll through the stop, and that makes it more dangerous, especially for people crossing the street across from a stop sign, or that they'll ignore another stop sign at a busy stop, you know, or they'll speed up and that's loud, you know. So between striping, crossing signs, street design, bump outs, center line stripes, like those are the tools that we can use so that people driving through our residential neighborhoods think about driving slowly. So, you know, when I see things like this, one is actually going to speed people up, because parking on both sides of the street generally slows people down, and that's a good thing. So they want to remove parking on the south side of the street, which is generally going to open up the road and allow for faster travel through that corridor. And then put in a stop sign to slow people down. So I think these are the types of things that we have to avoid, and we have to use the other tools that we've been using around town to continue to get our point across that, you know, we want people to drive slowly through our neighborhood. Speed is a huge factor in injury to people being hit by a bike or crossing or even a rear end accident. It's, you know, as speed goes up, the likelihood of getting hurt is, you know, considerably higher.
If I may.
Alderman Gonzalez?
I would be interested in knowing, I don't have the data to back this up, but for example, from 4th Street, on West Green Street, from 4th all the way to South Union, that's all no parking on the south side of the street, right? But I would argue that that section of West Green Street is considerably narrower, and the houses are a lot closer to the street, and it's much more densely populated than from 4th to 7th, right? I think it just looks wider. The houses are set further back, and there's fewer of them. So I'm inclined to agree with your assessment in terms of the need for no parking on one side. I think, you know, everybody, like the point you make, everybody, you know, asks for things in the name of safety or whatever, and I totally support like the idea of doing that as safe as we can, but you know, a lot of people are going to be affected by a decision like that, right? And I don't think that area has a tremendous track record in terms of, you know, has there been a bad accident? Not that we should wait for an accident, but I agree with the logic that that will slow, like having cars parked on both sides in that instance could act to slow people down more, whereas if we open the street up, people will be more inclined to speed. As far as the stop sign goes, I mean, I've been on the council for 9 years. More often than not, John, I'm sure you'll agree, whenever we put a stop sign in somewhere, people lose their minds, right? And we get 10 times as many complaints against the stop sign as we do people saying, yeah, you really need a stop sign there, right? You might get 1 call or 2 calls from somebody saying, we should put a stop sign there. If we put a stop sign there, we'll get 100 calls saying, why would you do that? That's a terrible idea.
John?
Alderman Witt?
Thank you. You know, in my board, and to just follow up with what Alderman Gonzalez said, there was a stop sign put at the end of Sunrise and Van Buren. And everyone just kind of, no one stops for it. And it was basically put there so someone could back out of their driveway, thinking that there's a stop sign, so it'll be easier to back out. Didn't work out that way. And it's just a prime example of some places you just don't want a stop sign. And this stop sign is just totally ignored. I find myself stopping because, you know, I'm the Olean, and if someone sees me going through it, many of them are totally ignored. Some of them are just outdated. But I just think with stop signs, you really have to, I don't know, be careful and do it, some restraint to do it.
Yeah, and I think everyone, you bring up valid points. I think part of our job is A, to represent our constituents and bring forward the concerns, and B, and where I've had a lot of respect for the council since I've been serving on it, and working with Director Ring and the police chief is, we kind of have a strategy rather than just always one person complains, and then we say, yep, and so all we do is put signs up all over the place. That doesn't make sense either, right? So, what I would ask is, I will reach out, I will ask for the police chief's thoughts on this as well. And I would also ask maybe Bob, if in your computer system, or I forget if it's maybe it's the police chief, who has a record of where accidents happen? Is that
The police department.
the police department has a record of where the?
That was Bob. I've seen the software.
I have I can go on a state database and do a search, so can the police, but.
I mean, I'm guessing, I know there was the end results here, so I'll follow up and just see, because to Paul's point, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think West Green Street, really up until 4th Street, is heavily utilized. I think a lot of people turn down 4th Street then, so I do think even the continuation down to 7th Street is less traffic, it is wider. We ride that bike route all the time, it is wider. And so, yeah, I think those points are well taken. So I'll follow up with some inquiry with the police chief on this. And sometimes doing nothing is the right answer, so.
But also, I don't know if we've done a traffic count in that particular segment.
Sure.
Maybe we can put the instrument up and do a
Okay.
traffic count also.
Okay.
I like that idea, man. And I was just gonna suggest, I know when I think about a manufacturing company, when you have tight corners and blind spots, a lot of those places have mirrors up when you're going around a corner. And I know that doesn't sound feasible for a street or a road, but is there anything other than that we could possibly do? I mean, besides a stop sign, maybe something that picks up on a vehicle movement too fast and then brings up a flashing slow down or something like that to bring awareness to the driver that, hey, slow down before you enter this intersection? Or is a sharp turn, it's a 90-degree turn, is there anything that drops the speed limit down? Or does the speed limit continuously go 25 around that corner? So, I mean, those are other things that we can consider.
I mean, if you're pulling 30 miles an hour around that corner, that's,
You're gonna be in the river.
yeah, I mean, it's tight,
Two wheels.
The initial issue was that they're coming into the other lane, right? If
correct,
you're driving fast,
correct.
you
You're
have to
trying
get into the other lane
correct.
in order to make that turn at fast speeds.
Correct.
I mean, I speed, so I know.
Why don't we repaint the center line again, then the expectation is to stay on your side of the road. If
Yep.
there is an accident, then at least the person can be blamed, for lack of a better word, for crossing the center line. If there isn't accident data to justify spending a bunch of money on say a flashing sign.
Right.
So,
No,
I could do that.
I think when you guys repaved South 7th Street, I think that center line went away. So I think that probably, and I did bring that up with the two households that live right there on the corner, and they said, well, yeah, that helped. But cars still go fast, and so I do think maybe that's probably the thing that makes the most sense. So.
Can I also make?
Go for
I was
it.
just gonna make a comment too. We always, I think they're extremely valuable with those traffic studies, the trail cam thing that you put up that records all that data. Every single time we've gotten a concern from a resident that cars go too fast, or they speed up this road here, and we've deployed that resource. Every single time, literally 100% of the time, it's been revealed that they don't speed, that the average speed is well below, that the outliers are few and far between in terms of people that are actually speeding. I mean, that's real, actual data, so.
I just had that, traffic went down on North Fourth Street in Olean, and, the chief told me there was 37 speeders. I mean, it's a small amount of 6,000 vehicles that traveled that road in that 2 weeks. There's 37 vehicles that were going about 40 to 47. So he was going to, after seeing that, he was going to send his radar patrols down there and try to slow the traffic down.
Yeah, but even then, that's out of 6,037, I mean, what is that, 0.5%, 0.1%, I mean.
Yeah, it's pretty immaterial, but at the same time, it is powerful, anytime we can use that sort of data, go back to constituents who have been, very, very concerned about an issue, we've heard about it numerous times, and present them with that data. It's hard to argue against data, well, for most of us anyway, so.
It's been a good tool, been a good purchase getting that.
Yes, absolutely, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for the input, I'll follow up with the police chief.
Does that have parking on both sides in both directions, John? I can't tell by the picture.
I think so,
Yes, it does.
I think so, Jason.
Okay. So I mean, if we ever got into redesigning that intersection, we could do some things like we've been doing around town. Bump that out,
Yeah.
tighten it up a little bit.
Round it out.
Yeah.
Hey,
So then you can really get some momentum, like,
I would see people going up over it.
but I mean, I
slant in like the racetracks, right, Mayor?
Bang it.
Yeah, that's
All right.
Is the next meeting always around?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Bernie.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to read it, I'll speak for.
Well, I'll read it. Do not block driveway, so we're all set with,
Yeah.
West Green, I mean, simple solution, repaint the line and, do a traffic study. So moving on, do not block drive, West State Street, Don's Tavern.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Robinson, sorry to steal your thunder there. So I'm actually speaking on behalf, Alderman Barnard wasn't going to make it tonight, but he asked me we had a discussion. It's pretty self-explanatory. There is a very narrow, you wouldn't know it unless you looked, alleyway. It's actually a driveway between Don's Semi-Friendly Tavern and whatever the sub shop is at on the other side, Clark's, and patrons have been parking in front of that driveway. So, Alderman Barnard is asking, or will be putting forward a resolution for a sign asking them do not block driveway.
We should probably paint that area too, so I'm looking at it on Google Maps right now, and I mean, if you're not paying attention and you're not used to it, you could easily see that as a parking space too, so.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. We did the same thing at Acme Business Supply
Yes.
across the street, but I believe there's also signs there too. Like we would do like no parking between signs, but striping may also do the job.
Yeah. We did it down at Murchie's too, that would block the
Oh, okay.
And for what it's worth, if they took, I mean, this is just the Google Maps picture, but if they took better care of it, it might look more like a driveway and less like a side yard.
Isn't that where they play bocce or something?
I don't think so, not here, this looks like a.
Well, there are tenants that live upstairs, I'm told, and they are not being able to have access to their parking lot out back, so.
The one that lives up above, she works at Country Fair, and she asks me every day about this, so.
So the mayor passes it on to Barnard, and Barnard passes it on to me. All right, goes full circle here. It's
Government work.
All right, so I'll tell Steve if there's any questions. I'm assuming that takes a resolution. I'll have Steve put that forward.
All right. So moving on, we have tree issues on private property.
this is something I brought up. I mean, I've got a current issue going on, and I'm trying to work through the codes. But it's not the first time I've encountered it, and I think the things that were bigger issues that I've dealt with as an alderman, trees on private property have been high in numbers. And what it usually tends to be is a tree that somebody doesn't either maintain properly or take down when it needs taken down. Branches fall or storms happen, the trees damage other people's property. So thankfully, I sent out an email the other day, the chief came to the rescue because I didn't have time to comb the code. But our code does allow us to enforce dead, dying trees, basically on your property, regardless of whether it's in the right of way or not. And I feel like we need to put some pressure on this enforcement because, you know, as we were talking early on, I think people in general are changing a bit over the decades, and my generation and younger doesn't look at a dying dead tree the same way that, say, my parents' generation would, where that thing would get taken care of and either taken down, replaced, whatever. And not only that, the cost of dealing with those things has increased at a rate that gets you into zones where people can't believe what it costs to take down a tree. So I want to bring it up, get your guys' input, see if we can get some pressure on the codes maybe to look for these things or enforce some as we bring them up. Because I'm seeing people's properties, their cars. I haven't had anybody get hurt, but there's a lot of trees around our town that are potential to, you know, the chances of someone being under it when one falls is the only reason somebody hasn't got hurt. But property, I think it comes down to keeping, looking out for the value of the properties in our city as well, to deal with this. So I just like you guys to back me up and us funnel some info through codes, get feedback from you, chief, if, you know, if there's something that's not working on enforcing that. But I think it's a bigger issue today than it would have been in the past, and we've kind of brushed it off when it's on private property, like it's, like we can wash our hands of it. And I don't think that's the case anymore, or at least it's not going to get better as time goes on.
Alderman Witt.
Thank you, Alderman Robinson. I was talking to Chief Richardson and Alderman Candace before the meeting, and I've got several of these trees. A couple have been on private property where the neighbors talk to each other and got it resolved. But I think you're actually very right on the money. It's so expensive to take, and these are huge trees. These aren't just little things. I was talking to them about a tree on Prospect. The last couple of years, at least several calls on that. And I've talked to our forester, I've talked to codes. It's on the front yard of somebody, but it hangs over Prospect. If it ever comes, it's a dead tree. If it ever comes down, it's gonna take electric lines. It's gonna be into traffic, so if someone's driving, someone could get hurt. It's gonna land on the two houses across the street. So I think part of it is our responsibility because it's traffic, it's public safety, and I think either we have to hold people accountable or we have to help in some way because, you know, you would hate to have one of these trees, and this one's a huge tree. If you get a chance, just turn in Prospect, look to the left, and it's a huge tree, you can't miss it, it comes over the whole street. And we've been told about it several years now. And, you know, I just hold my breath that nothing happens, but I'm sure a tree that size is easily $2,000 to $3,000 to take down. And I know most residents can't afford that.
If you can even find someone to do it too. I think there's a shortage of, you know, qualified, experienced people that know what they're doing to do a job like that.
My neighbor has been waiting all summer for someone to take down a dead tree, and he's still waiting.
Yeah.
So they're backed up.
So, just my thinking here, the tree program, I can't remember the specifics, but I know we upped that amount to, I think, 30 grand. And that's specifically for the subway. What about if we open it up, maybe increase it a little more and then open it up to private property and put a cap on it? That way we can help more to where, say if you have, we end up, you know, if you did something like that, you end up with 20 calls right off the bat, maybe say, you know, we'll have 20 grand and we'll offer a grand to each person that applied or something like that. That would offset, I mean, 1,000 is a lot more than zero for.
So, if I could respond to that. So, you know, the thing about our tree program is, the tree program, the money that we set aside, not only helps to maintain trees that fall, I mean, God knows, we have our own problems, right? So like the city, you go walk through Oak Hill Park, we have our own problems with huge, tremendous trees that are dying and failing, and they ain't cheap to bring down. And so I think that's where, from the tree funding, that's where our priority is now. We have extended a branch, to residents to say, listen, we understand that the subway, the city right of way is essentially shared between the homeowner and the resident. So when I put forward the tree policy or the sharing policy, sharing the cost, it was to try to soften the blow on that shared use area. I think it is a slippery slope if we start entering into private property, someone's backyard. I appreciate the thought there, but I think I would like to see a long-term strategy. And I know we got that study done recently, but what are we going to do to fix our own trees that are all over the place? There's right by Country Fair on your side of North 12th Street. There's like 7 trees right there that I'm told are ours.
Yes.
Bob, okay? Why are they still standing? They're dead.
Yep.
And every time we have a storm, branches fall. Like, I've stopped now twice on Buffalo Street, across the street, that's the railroad. Same, I'm assuming, are those ash trees?
Yes.
Okay, right? And I've pulled huge branches out of the road, right? Why are they still standing? Well, I mean, we have limited funding. So, I mean, that's where I think our priority needs to be, and we need to have a plan in place to address that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you know, are we gonna, have a presentation on that tree survey? So we're all on the same page, knowing where we should be focused, where.
Yeah, we can arrange that.
Okay. The other thing, Country Fair across from Dresser, they took down 3 of those dead trees. And they came back and they took the stumps out too, and it looks so much better there.
It's wide open.
And I think the ones that you were referring to, John, 4x12s and Reed, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think they belong to the railroad. And it would just be nice if they came and took them down. It would look so much nicer there, and it would be safer.
Alderman Anastasia.
Yeah, I just have to say, I agree with Mr. Manis. I had a problem not too long ago, which you guys all know about, and it was private property. But if we allow codes to do their jobs and let them have permission to go after dangerous and hazardous trees, things will get done because codes went by the books. And I saw what Justin Melfi did from my ward, and the tree did eventually get taken down by the property owner. So I just think if codes would do their jobs, or we give them permission to do their jobs, things will get done.
Have we not? I'm sorry, we didn't direct them to not do that.
No, we as the council didn't, but as the feedback I got from them is they were afraid because it was quote unquote on private property and they didn't know how to handle it. But it was in the books. Justin found it and had the teeth to take care of the problem. But he was almost afraid to pursue because he must have been being told internally, I don't know, I can't prove nothing, but he must have been being told internally, back off, it's private property. But it's not the case. I mean, there's already laws on the books to deal with this. And maybe we should get our city forester to inspect these trees, even though it's on private property, because she's the one that is trained and knows about trees to determine whether they are actually dangerous.
That sounds like an internal issue that needs to be handled by DPW. Doesn't necessarily need council intervention. Would you agree, Mayor? I'm sorry, I said, would you agree with that? Like, that sounds like a code.
I agree totally with that, yes.
What I would though ask, as a follow-up, to help us understand the process, because it has gotten better. But I think it's important to help us as the representatives, right? The middleman, if you will, between the residents, the concerned residents, and the city body. to understand the process that codes is using, and so I'm reaching out and I'm speaking directly to the fire chief. So what is the process that codes uses to do its job, and then how do they enforce it? For existence, how much time is someone given to remedy a dangerous tree? So a tree is found to be dangerous in their backyard, right next to the neighbor's garage. Codes gets notified of that. How much time are they given before they've got to go and check it out? How much time are they given then if they deem it dangerous to remedy it? And then what I've, in my time, seen is, yep, it's dangerous. Yup, it needs to be taken care of. We've given the notice to the homeowner to remedy it, and then there it sits
Yeah.
for months. And so my understanding is we remedy it because it's deemed dangerous, and then we bill the homeowner, and that's it. Like, we just get it done. And so if we could help understand the process and work with you, chief, and codes to make the job more efficient, work with the mayor, whatever the best process is to help expedite these types of concerns.
So I think the chief brought me a code, John, it overlaps with DPW a little bit. Because in the code, it puts the onus back on DPW to issue those letters and such.
Now that's for the city. Is that for all, even in private property in the backyard, or is that just city right?
If I understand the code right, yes, section 21. So basically, it says any person required, give a notice of trim trees by the Director of Public Works. So I would imagine the process go back and forth a little bit, Chief. Are we used to that, or is maybe that's where a little bit of our stalling's coming from?
I guess the big issue of concern would be, and where Bob and I can work together on this to come up with a decent resolution, or not resolution, but resolution between this confusion. Because a lot of times public right of way is, you can take it to the sky to render it safe and then lean the property. Now that, I will say that just from looking around the city, when you're talking about the damage by the ash borer, that we have a lot of ash trees, that this is gonna get expensive, because it's gonna turn into the point where we're putting money forward to get all these done, and we're talking, $3,000 to $5,000 to get these trees done. I mean, you're gonna, in theory, you could get your money back, but what if you don't? And I get public safety too. I mean, obviously, public safety is paramount, that's why we're all here, right? And, but how far are we willing to go? And that's, the one situation that Alderman Anastasia's working about, we got quick compliance by codes putting a notice. There was not, it was an order to remedy, but it was a notice that this is here. You get pressure from both sides of the insurance companies to put them on notice, and then it kind of escalates, and then you have, I guess, would be the impartial third party in this would be the city. And it is a sticky wicket. I wish it was black and white, but that's where maybe that's where we need to figure it out and go from there.
Can I just say, maybe this is something that the tree committee could sit down with you and Director Ring and Mr. Hoover, and just see if maybe we either need to put more teeth in our codes, or there's just some other ideas out there, because like the one I was talking about, even if we cut some of the dead branches that are right over the street, and I know National Grid does a lot of that, that would help. I just think my concern is the public safety part, because kids walk on that street, adults, people drive on that street, it's a busy street. And just having those branches come down, you're either gonna crack a windshield or someone's gonna get hurt. So maybe this is something the tree committee, I don't even, who's on the tree committee? So,
I
I didn't know.
But I think it would be a good idea to have United Front moving forward, because
Yeah.
folks all the time are dealing with tree complaints, and it's one of those things that, now it's on the front, so let's do something.
At the same time, John makes the point, as a city, if we're gonna put pressure on people to clean up their act, then now we're gonna have to, we've gotta get it together and at least start a process of dealing with them, right? I didn't realize the conditional kill was in until I was there last week.
Yeah.
But
update here on the tree survey, so I think that will explain a lot. And there was some good information on that when they did the meeting via Zoom, so I'll leave that at that. Any other questions or comments on this topic? Any other questions or comments for the public safety committee?
I just have one real quick one. I don't know if I need to put a PL in a resolution or not, but tonight when I went over to the voting booths, I was cornered and pressured quite a bit tonight for about 45 minutes anyways. There's a crosswalk down by St. John's School that is used as a rec center also. And all the constituents in that area want is to make the crosswalk more high vis. And the sign that's going there is they want the green line stripe to go down the center pole like it has down at Boardmanville. I guess the residents saw the new pump out where the crosswalk is, and that green stripe going down the poles, making it really highly visible. And this is something that I asked for back in early summer, and all it is a little stripe, one stripe down each pole. So I don't know if I need to put a resolution or a PL in, but
Did you send an email to Bob Ring?
I just found out about it like an hour ago.
Oh, I would
That they're still complaining, so.
I would start with the email.
So anyways, I'm just wondering if we could put that, I've asked Bob that back in the early summer, and I don't know if he ever got back to me.
I did get back to you, but, you know, I'm hoping that we can discuss it a little bit more. That's not regulatory, so it doesn't really need to be like a resolution or a code, it's warning. You know, just to let you know, my philosophy on it is that it lights up the sign, but it doesn't really light up the pedestrian. It makes maybe the sign a little bit more visible. I'm not a huge fan of them because the state has started using them, but there hasn't been any data to show that they've actually improved safety. So again, I just would like to know if they're safer or not. And if they are, I would probably start using them regularly. I'd rather start with some kind of additional lighting or a crosswalk that we know works, or advanced warning signage. You know, it just feels like a shiny new toy that may or may not work, that I'm reluctant to use around town because, you know, again, I think there's a bigger issue to tackle.
So where would or how would we find out if if it's safe to use those, or what?
Well, I think you know, rely on my expertise to, you know, make decisions on signs like that for warning signs. That's just my opinion.
No, but the person at the polling station, dude, come on.
So, you know, I try to think that we have to, at some point, be the voice of reason. We get concerns and complaints all the time. And we do have an expert on traffic studies. You know, the easy way to quiet my constituent would be, all right, we're gonna put stop signs, and we're gonna put, you know, no parking and everything. You know, I mean, we have to rely on the experts too. And, you know, to go off of what Bob's point is, and I've even been guilty of this, and Bob pointed this out, with regards to the crossing beacons, you become so used to, when a pedestrian is crossing there, the crossing beacon going off to alert you for the pedestrian, that if someone fails to use that, you end up slamming on your brakes because you're keeping an eye open for the crossing beacon, and you're not, your brain just re-triggers itself, right? Retrains itself, and not look for the pedestrian or the kid crossing that didn't press the stupid button. So I kind of get the whole, you're looking now at something new instead of where you should be looking. And I appreciate, I get you, Dave, and I totally appreciate your concerns. What I would suggest on that matter too is, what is not making the current crossing safe? Have there been near misses? You know, does it need to be lit better? Is it a visibility issue? Is there something else that is maybe causing a greater concern?
I think for one, it's a visibility issue too, because there's a tree there and it's half covered in sign, the crosswalk crossing sign. And it's a long stretch. There's not a stop sign from 7-Eleven all the way down to the Christian Academy School. So traffic, when it gets to St. John's point of view, is probably traveling 35, 40 miles an hour. And if don't see somebody or don't expect somebody to be crossing there, it's easy to have near misses, and the constituents that were complaining this evening said that they were seeing near misses, and they don't want to see a kid get killed. So that's why I thought, this is public safety, we're actually supposed to bring issues like this to public safety.
Maybe we, put that as another site for the possible traffic study too. After they're done with my corner, set it up there, by St. John's.
All I'm gonna say is the road is labeled, is marked with the marking, the striping.
Striking, yes.
Okay. And then the,
And there's the lime green sign has got the walking, an arrow pointing.
okay, so they have everything.
Yeah, so the only thing they were asking for is the lime green, like that's that, we're gonna be able to make it more visible that there is a crosswalk there.
Of course, Border Patrol has it.
I
Maybe we
would
can,
hope-
maybe we can take some from Main Street, there's enough green signs.
Of course, Border Patrol, get everything.
Hey, what can I say, I've been here a while.
Alright, so I guess the quick one on that one would be, I guess, you can email and set up for a street study and
Yeah,
trail study,
I'll talk with the chief.
and then we'll go from there. Alright, any other questions, comments?
Before we, something kind of dawned on me about the tree thing and private property before we adjourn this. I remember back when we had the old supermarket down on Buffalo Street burned down. We talked about issues with landlords having insurance on these properties. And I can't remember if we dropped the ball on that, because I feel like Kevin Doherty might have been kind of carrying it. Because that plays into these tree issues too. It always gets into insurance, and landlords that are running, low-cost rental units tend to not have insurance in the city. And I feel like that's an issue we meant to deal with, and we may not have done.
Sounds like somebody just volunteered.
I guess so.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jason. We were talking, and I believe it was with Kevin, about is there a way to require landlords to have, in order to get, say, a proof of occupancy, and I don't know, the fire chief, if you remember this conversation at all, to have some sort of proof of hazard insurance on your property, something to that effect. So I'm 100% behind that, because the city got stiffed with the bill, and I still don't believe we have collected anything on that. Is that, Mayor? On
Yeah, it's been in the court, and we collected a small amount.
Can we just eminent domain that property on the corner?
I know Jack Hart has inherited that and has taken it over, and I can ask him that question.
Because I think, to be perfectly honest, I saw what the owner is trying to sell that property for, like $30,000. I would rather eminent domain that. We take it and put a neighborhood park in there, or some swings or some benches or something to improve the neighborhood, because we're getting stiff with the bill. The taxpayers are getting stiff with a slumlord's, inability to take care of their property and insure it the way a normal human being would. So I've got no respect for that. So I think if we can take that property, we should.
But couldn't we put a lien against whatever money they do get for that property?
We will get to that point. Yes, it's in court right now.
Yeah, I think I haven't gone that far, but, I think if you trade off properties, cash deals, you can acquire liens and never pay them. If I remember right, the bank's the only one that's gonna help you out in that situation. If I'm correct, I don't have much experience there.
Personally, I'd rather just use it, put a neighborhood park in or something.
Yeah, I'm with you, John.
Fort Five is the only park, only ward that doesn't have a park in it, so it's fine.
No, my ward doesn't have a park.
So I will,
My closest park is Fort Jackson, it's in his ward.
Sure.
I'm out.
We used to have a school park, but
No, that's a soccer field.
that's a soccer field now.
I'll see if I can rekindle the efforts on this insurance thing.
So Bordenville doesn't get anything.
I tried.
Alright, I'm not even gonna ask if we have any more for this committee. Approval of committee reports, we have none. Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Anastasia, all in favor?
Aye.
It is adjourned.
for Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Let the record show that all aldermen are present except for Alderman Barner, who's excused. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting held October 19th.
So second.
Second by Alderman Gonzalez, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unfinished business, we've got PL 52-21 by Alderman Witt to adopt the City of Olean employee social media policy. Alderman Witt.
Yes, this has been approved by our HR person, so I'm ready to put a resolution in to move forward.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Mayor, any last questions or comments?
No.
Okay. All right. Then Alderman Witt, would you like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right. Anyone in particular care to second it?
No.
And
I'll second.
All right. Yep. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Refer to next week?
Yep.
Next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Witt, for taking that charge there. New referrals for consideration, land bank activity update. I believe, Alderman Witt, this was one of your requests?
Yes, I just wanted an update on any activity that's going on in the city of Olean. I have heard that other areas in the county is helping with the land bank, and I was just curious if there are any properties in the city that are been looked at by the.
Yeah, okay, rehabs, 215 South Berry Street is completed and sales should be closed in the middle of November. 138 North 17th Street is about 90% complete by a private individual. That was a property that was sold to a private individual by Land Bank. So, and then demolitions completed, 139 North 7th Street, 121 North 7th Street, 808 North Union, 115 South 13th Street. So that's, the Land Bank is now kind of shifted their plan from demoing to rehabbing. So we've been still meeting, we meet with them, and they're always asking us for potential houses, and a lot of them they will get off of the county sale, county tax sales.
Bill, if you think of it, you should throw that info into an email, that list of houses that they've done.
Yeah, I can,
Okay.
yeah, I'll email it out to everybody tomorrow.
Thank you.
So is this an updated list since the auction? Because I know the auction just closed not too long ago.
We don't, yeah, this is what's has been done in the past. We don't have I know the auction closed, but they're in the process now of deciding which houses to try to rehab.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll be happy to provide this out to everybody tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
And at this point in time, Mayor, we do not own any blighted houses, do we?
Yes, we still have the one at 301 West Oak that we have a lot of interest in. What I'm having done is I'm having between the fire chief and Greg Piota put together a list of properties that we own, and I'll be bringing that forth to the council to see if what the pleasure is to go put out RFPs on these properties and get them off our plates.
Yeah. You know, now might be a good time to strike, because I saw what the county brought in with their auction recently with home prices. I just could not believe. A couple of years ago, a home that would have gone for $10,000 is going for 40 or 50.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we have an opportunity to get someone to rehab, if we have any of those properties remaining, then by all means, let's continue that. Any other comments? Yes, Fire Chief.
420, I believe it's 422 South Union will be coming down next week. That's a placarded one about 2 back from the bridge.
Awesome.
It's got an X on it. Right, it'd be right before, about 2 back from Union Sales.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that should be down within the next 2 weeks. Bank's taking it down. So just found that out today.
Did Did one ever get taken down right by the middle school tennis courts, right across the street there on First Street? Wasn't there one, like a little shack or something, a garage?
No, that did not get taken down.
No?
No, that's privately owned right now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was purchased, from the auction.
Oh, okay. All right.
So something, I think the treasurer has changed recently with the auction this year too, is the taxes due on properties being collected from the buyers. So if there's money out in the city, we may see some things come back from that too.
Well, we're made whole by the county on our properties that are not.
Oh, even if they, regardless.
Yeah, we're made whole, so, the county is recovering that when they do the tax sale, so.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay, seeing nothing. I was, unfortunately, she had to cancel. I was gonna have a farmer's market presentation, invite the manager of the Lincoln Park Farmer's Market here to talk about their season and give us an update. They will be holding 2 holiday special sessions. Off the top of your head, Mayor, you don't have those dates, do you?
Yeah, it'd be the Saturday before Thanksgiving and the Saturday before Christmas.
Okay, which I thought was pretty cool,
Yeah.
because we've talked for a while about trying to get kind of a holiday market going, and have that be a thing here in Olean. So I'll see if I can reschedule her presentation to us. We've got no committee reports, so I'll make a motion to adjourn strategic planning. Can I get a second, please? Second by Alderman Robinson. My mouth is hitting me, man. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. We're going to jump into committee of the whole. I'll call the order for Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Let the record show that all aldermen are present, with the exception of Alderman Barnard, who is excused. We have no unfinished business, but we have our ongoing new referrals for consideration, and that is the work being done on the Civilian Review Board. So tonight, just giving everyone an update, I was rather sick last week, and I meant to get everything sent out to everyone earlier, but I wasn't doing a lot last week. After the previous work session 2 weeks ago, as we left, I met with Alderman Robinson and Alderman Panis to review the feedback from our labor attorney, the police union attorney, as well as our city attorney, and essentially dissect their input, their concerns, and try to create a policy that's going to hopefully work for everyone, work for our residents, our citizens, as well as work for our police department, and work in conjunction with them. So I believe, was it today or yesterday? Maybe yesterday I sent out an email to all of you with the attached copy of the latest working proposal. So if you don't have that, check your emails. That should be proposal draft 3. I've asked Tiffany to post that to our city website. And so I even see they put it on the city Facebook page too. So that working document is out there. Where we stand now with the work that really, again, tremendous work from Alderman Robinson and Panis. What we would like to do is to see if Joe Bracchio could give it a good once-over. We had a couple questions that I sent to him as well. And asked also for Jack. I think we're getting closer and closer to the finish line here. I'll open it up, of course, and let Alderman Panis or Alderman Robinson make any comments that they wish, and then, of course, field any questions. Anything, Jason, you want to add?
No, I think we're pretty close to coming to something everyone will be happy with. And it should address everyone's concerns, and where it doesn't, we've made that choice to go through with something anyway.
Alderman Robinson, anything you'd like to add?
One small thing, when we next meet, we're gonna discuss, questions, concerns with the CRB.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to, like I said, I got around to, I think yesterday, emailing it to everyone. So if you need a paper copy, I'm sure Tiffany can print one out, put it in the mailbox for you. Mayor?
Yeah, if I may, it's been sent on to Joe Bracchio, our labor attorney, and it's also, Jack has it, and so we'll see. It may be, I'm not gonna, Joe starts an arbitration here in Olean on Thursday, so it'll be, probably won't be until into next week before he responds to it, so. Okay.
All right, thank you. Alderman Witt?
Yeah, at some point, are we gonna have our HR person look at
Yeah,
it?
I
He's
gave it,
been updating the code of ethics and things, so.
yeah, I gave it to Ward today, I also asked him to look at it, so we'll probably, give him some of the back information off also, so he's very thorough. I'm very pleased with him so far, he is doing a great job.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe if we could set our sights on getting some feedback, like you said, Mayor, by middle of next week. So then we can take that feedback into our next working session then in 2 weeks. So it should give everyone an opportunity to please print it off and comb through it. Anything else on that? Okay, seeing nothing, any committee reports, Tiffany? All right, so I want to wish luck to all the candidates tonight. And I was gonna wish Steve Barnard extra luck. But, you know, good luck to all the candidates that are here. And, you know, everyone who's running for local office, they do it for the love of Olean. So much appreciation to anyone who steps up to run for local office. So I will make a motion to adjourn. Could I get a second, please? Second by Alderman Panis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're adjourned. Have a good night. Thank you.